So, evidently, the outcome that the UFC wanted ended up happening. And before we talk about external factors, we have to give Sean O'Malley credit where it's due. And he did do what he needed to do to defeat Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain Sterling opted to stand on the feet with Sean O'Malley. Didn't really try to get to his wrestling at all in round one up until the final 20 seconds to solidify the round. So we're not going to do what he did. We're going to get to our wrestling very, very early. And we're going to try to rewrite history as we go on here and get some fights in and attack a lot of submissions. But jokes aside and whatnot, one thing that Martial Mind and I, if you guys haven't already seen a live reaction, I was definitely disappointed. I was definitely disappointed. You can see it on my face very clear as day. But there was one thing that Marshall said, and we both realized, it came down to who's going to make the first mistake, who's going to overcommit first. And Aljamain Sterling, who likes to shift in his stance, but he takes himself out of position, reaches in for a shot against Sean O'Malley, and pays for it. Now, had he gone for a double or any type of shot to lower his level after he throws that cross, his head is out the way and he doesn't get knocked down the way he did before the subsequent TKO finish. But that was not the case. And part of that came to a discussion that Marshall and I were having very early in the card. And we were talking about grapplers and MMA and striking and whatnot. And that the biggest thing with grapplers and MMA is that they tend to have a hard time with people utilizing lateral movement. Prior to the modern stage of MMA, a lot of strikers, they'll kind of stay right in front of them, right? And trying to throw kicks at a grappler is like, oh Lord, why would you do that? They'll try to time you off for your takedowns and take you down that way. But I explained that if you force the grappler to make all his attacks go in a straight line, because a lot of people, they don't train to attack moving laterally. They don't train moving strikes. It's usually they'll move around, but then they'll attack in a straight line. A great example of this is Frankie Edgar. So he'll do a lot of this movement, a lot of stepping around, some L steps, rhythm steps in here and there, but it doesn't really. At the end of the day, the line is still a straight line of attack. So the lateral movement, both Aljamain Sterling and Sean O'Malley were doing a fantastic job, and we're definitely gonna get the sub here. But Sean did a really, really good job. And one thing that KO was reminiscent of is a Thomas Almeida finish, where Sean O'Malley, he launches a body teep, and usually the reaction in MMA for a lot of people who start to strike, they get hit with something and they want to get one back. Sean O'Malley uses the body teep, baits Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain Sterling feels the need that he has to lunge in and falls right into the trap, and there was no funky dancing for Sterling after that, although it was a very, very humble post-fight speech on the mic, and the Boston crowd was just absolutely abysmal. And continued to boo the guy after he graciously accepted defeat. But I 100% understand his frustration with not being able to enact the game plan. He recognized what Sean brought to the table. He expressed, I think it's very dumb to underestimate anybody. Very, very dumb to underestimate anybody. He said he was taking the fight real serious. The camp was good, but yeah, there's a lot to be said. So, all right, we got another fight. So we were talking about the post-fight. Right, we're going against Mr. Corey Sandhagen. Post-fight. He wants to do a rematch. And, the first thing that people say about a rematch is, oh, well, he got knocked out. Why is he going to get a rematch? And to that end, I'm going to present to you Stipe Miocic. He got finished by Daniel Cormier, waited, but ended up getting the rematch that he wanted, right? At heavyweight, ended up winning that rematch. We have Zhang Weili. She got finished by a crazy head kick KO by Rose Namajunas, ended up getting her rematch. Cody Garbrandt got finished by TJ Dillashaw in round 2, ended up getting his rematch. So it's when people try to say, oh, it's something that doesn't happen, or they try to move the goalpost about their own, they'll try to say, oh, well, he defended with 2 split decisions and this and that. That doesn't matter because he still got the W's over 2 former champions. That's whatever your own personal thing about that is. That's on you. You have to look at it objectively. Now, of course, the TJ Dillashaw win, that's more TJ Dillashaw's fault for not disclosing the injury, and we should have had fucking Jose Aldo fighting Aljamain Sterling. And I would have rather had Jose Aldo beat Sterling than O'Malley, me personally speaking. But I'd say that I think Sterling definitely has that right to an immediate rematch, but I will say that statistically and numerically speaking, he's 34, Sean is 29, and rematches don't tend to go well for the champions, especially if they got finished, right? If they got finished, the second bout usually is not as competitive. Now, we can see Sean O'Malley be a lot more confident with his hands, because when a wrestler tends to get KO'd, they tend to be more tentative. And Aljamain was already showing he was a bit tentative to enter that range with Sean O'Malley. A lot of the feints that he was throwing him, Sean builds off of his strikes with some quality feints and uses that to disguise a lot of his entries. And much like Leon Edwards against Kamaru Usman, right after getting the head kick KO, when they fought for the third time, the game plan was circle, deny Kamaru Usman his grips by the cage when he get this takedown. And even when Kamaru got him down, he constantly stayed moving and did not allow for Kamaru to settle in a position. And I fear that may happen to Mr. Aljamain Sterling, right, if he ends up rematching Sean too soon. And that's why I try to look at fights. You have to always try to look at fights objectively when you're talking about rematches. You can't go, well, he has to get, if he gets his wrestling going early, then he'll get him out there. I mean, that's fair if he gets to the position that he desires, right? Sean's also said that he wasn't able to grapple as much, but you'll see that they still practice in that position. The shin on top of the thigh of Aljamain Sterling with the overhook, that's something that Henry Cejudo was doing against Aljamain Sterling when he was able to successfully defend a takedown. Also, Peter Yan was able to do something along those lines. So they did their homework. Augusto Mendes definitely had Sean do his homework. So I don't know. It's a risky gamble for Aljamain Sterling to get his rematch right away. And but I will say this. It's better that he takes a loss like that to Sean O'Malley now. Because if he had beaten Sean O'Malley and gone up to featherweight, Volk would have done some very bad things to him. And I've said that way before. I've said that way before he lost, right? You know, we saw how well Peter Yan was doing on the feet against him. We saw, obviously, with Cejudo, and we still see, you know, the exits of Aljamain Sterling put him at a huge risk, and Volkanovski is too goddamn good in the clinch for a lot of the unorthodox stuff that Aljamain Sterling likes to do on the feet to really work on him. So I'm actually glad that fight is not going to happen, as fun as it would have been. So we'll have to see. So Sandhagen's doing a real good job outside. Rock him now. There we go. Get some combos going. It was interesting to see. Ooh, good to know. It was interesting to see that both of them were very respectful of what the other brought to the table. You know, if you notice, there was not a lot of looping shots from Sean O'Malley. Not a lot of round kicks that he likes to throw. Kept a lot of linear shots. And if you guys watched the reaction that I had alongside Marshall, yeah, I'm like, oh, he's feinting that right leg. He really wants to set him up with a shot from like his right side, especially that right knee. And in my Sean O'Malley showcase, I had knocked out Sterling with a knee, with an intercepting knee. And, you know, got a very brutal result. And I'm like, bro, I really hope I didn't just bring some bad juju to tonight. I had a Aljamain Sterling showcase done. I get this bail backpack. But I figured, man, I got to re-record it because it was a showcase. I'm like, man, I don't know if I wanted to upload it. You know, if he had won, I would have uploaded that one. But he lost. I'm like, I gotta. It's gonna sound weird, you know, if I upload it and it's talking about, oh, this is what he needs to do, etc. Even though I don't think I'm wrong in the assessment. But what I will say is this, right? For Aljamain Sterling to defeat Sean O'Malley, right, without making that mistake, he needs to show up a couple things, fundamentally speaking. A lot of times when we have success, right, when we have success with what we're doing, this happens in wrestling, this applies to myself, this applies to the best of the best, this applies to a lot of people. When you're having success with what you're doing, and you're kind of getting away with not being punished for it, or because you get the W, the people that you train with kind of overlook it, it can come back to haunt you. And a couple things that Aljamain Sterling does, you know, he'll throw some shots and he will turn his back, lunge out and exit in a direction, but he's giving up his back. Henry Cejudo almost timed a head kick on an exit against Aljamain Sterling. Didn't land, but it was very close. And I was talking about that with Marshall as well. Then with Peter Yan, when Peter Yan had knocked down Aljamain Sterling, it was after Aljamain Sterling had tried to close the distance into orthodox, right? He changed his stance. He throws the jab, and then he stays directly in front of Yan, kind of like he throws the punch. He's almost admiring his work and gets caught there. Had he had been overextended the way that he was against O'Malley, Yan would have got him out of there. So now you have to look at it this. What can Aljamain Sterling do to tighten up his offense with his punches to where he doesn't always need to shift and throw looping punches every single time to transition into a takedown? Or rather, combine his punches with his kicks without always having to need to switch his stance. A lot of times, it's easier to switch your stance and kick. Like, kick and switching your stance is actually easier than to just kick and remain in the stance that you are in. Aljamain has done that against Peter Yan when he was working a lot of the body kicks, but where he's gotten into some problem is when they're timing where he's going to be out of position. I would also further say that maybe there has to be some more drills. Shoot here. There has to be some more drills where he's throwing that shifting cross and you're going to crowd that near side arm. So even if he tries to get to an underhook, you lock it up into the body lock position and you walk him to the fence that way. But it's clear that you cannot afford at any moment to overextend against Sean O'Malley. You do that, you will get punished for it. It's the same thing with guys like Chito Vera. It's the same thing with guys like Jose Aldo. It's the same thing with guys like Conor McGregor. Like, if you overextend on your punches, you will pay for it against a seasoned striker. This guy's going to give me a good fight right now, too. We're trying to work a lot more round kicks to the body. That was something I was surprised. Aljamain did a couple of those, but it was more leg kicks. I really think the body kicks would have helped. If he had thrown maybe a couple more body kicks, maybe he was worried about getting countered off of that as well. Could have been a concern. But more body kicks to get Sean's hands to drop low. And the more I even like just to get his hands to tap low. The forearms can only take so much damage, right? And you're constantly taking impact to your shin, blocking body kicks. When I say your shin, your forearm, blocking body kicks. It will, it will make it easier to get the takedown because your opponent's arms are just gonna get so damn worn out. But yeah, I think that for Aljamain Sterling, if he does want to get a rematch against Sean O'Malley, and he wants to win this rematch, the mentality cannot be, I just got caught. That cannot be the mentality if you're going to go against Sean O'Malley. You overextended, yes. Then oh, dude, this is a guillotine right here. Hold on. That's I'm telling y'all, if your opponent is striking so much from bottom half guard and they go for the sweep right away and they didn't let their short-term stamina recover, that guillotine is going to be money. If it's not the guillotine, it's going to be the triangle. Yeah, we're gonna nail this. All right, we'll have to. I want to keep on talking. So I want to keep on talking because I definitely want to hear y'all thoughts about it. Of course, objectively speaking, I want to have a discussion, an educated talk about it. Well, if you think that Sean's just gonna do him worse the second time around, which is very more likely a possibility. But yeah, that I'm telling you, that guillotine, you don't let your stem recover. That guillotine gonna take your goddamn neck. I feel like I did a much better job too of emulating Aljamain. Like, blending everything together helps out Aljamain so much in this game. If you try to stick to only one thing for an extended period of time against the Yans, O'Malley's, the Aldos, the TJs on this game, and you don't establish that wrestling threat early, with Aljamain, you're going to have a very, very, very hard time. That's good. That's good. So, yeah, this is definitely going to be the last one going against Mr. Peter Yan. I'm going to try to enact a bit of the same game plan that he opted to use against Jan. A little more forward aggression now. When Jan was pressing against Aljamain, that's when he was throwing he was doing pretty much very similar to what O'Malley was kind of doing to him. Lateral movement, throwing a lot of kicks, forcing him to chase. And the grappling threat was keeping Jan from opening up as much because he knew once he let his hands go, if he didn't land and find that mark, Aljamain would use that to kind of force a scramble to get to his back. Let's go. My members, y'all know what this is. I ain't gonna tell the regular folk, but y'all know what this is. A little voodoo for y'all. Alright, I'm just gonna get some work here in the crucifix. So, here's what I think. And I've already made my point. I already saw some people were like, "Oh look, he's an Aljamain Sterling fan. He's already making excuses for Aljo with the home watch thing." Obviously, if you see a fighter that you supported, right? You supported for as long as I've been wrestling, right? Because I was also a late bloomer in wrestling, and it was cool to see somebody who also started late in wrestling have the success that they're having now. And not only that, for one of my mentors who have also trained alongside Aljamain Sterling, my jiu-jitsu coach used to train with Aljamain Sterling up at Bomb Squad way back then. I talked to Aljamain Sterling on Instagram a couple times here and there. My training partners at the college, which I'm going to be coaching, are from Long Island. They train with Aljamain Sterling. They're Long Island folks. Well, I'm getting distracted talking about this, and I'm about to fuck up this sub. It's cool. But my case in point is, obviously, if you see somebody that, you know, from watching them get KO'd against Marlon Moraes, right? And a lot of people had ran him off, and then watching him beat contender after contender, contender after contender, and then go from being supposed to get destroyed by certain guys to having these close fights with absolute incredible fighters. Nothing short of amazing. And it sucks. Of course you're gonna feel some type of way. Shit, motherfucker get finished. I hate it when I hear some MMA fans act like they are not prone to being annoyed. It was the same thing when, you know, I see a couple guys when they saw Conor get finished. Oh, I'm shooting. When they saw Conor get finished by Dustin, right? Or when they had like the shit that happened in the third bout. Couple things too, you know, Adesanya and Pereira and everything else. So what I'm saying is, shut the fuck up. I'm human like anybody else. But, you know, so if we're gonna take everything out of the equation with regards to the fast turnaround from one title defense, it's not about the weight cut thing. I will say, letting yourself balloon that much when you have to cut down to 135, it's not optimal because there's a point of diminishing returns. If you're getting up that high, it's not good, right? Jose Aldo used to, you know, not even cut hella weight. He cut probably more to get down to bantamweight. But once he became a bantamweight and had a nutritionist and helped him out, he was lean as hell. Got a goddamn bantamweight, lean as hell. Eventually filled out properly and looked just as good as he did at featherweight, right? And that's how you do it properly. You shouldn't really be ballooning up to like 170 something. That's me. I'm just me being a little bit critical of that. I think that, you know, at most you get up to 160 or at most. Alright, because you gotta stay at optimal shape at all times. But it's not even about the weight itself, it's also just training camps. Training camps are very brutal, right? You know, Sean O'Malley had his own injury that he disclosed after he had won, right? So it was very limited for him to do any of the grappling and whatnot. So they kind of did baseline defense based on what I saw in the film, and it worked. Oof! Damn, that almost did not work out for me. God damn, you letting your hands go. Motherfucker. I'm like, yo, goddamn hands go. I can't let you do that to me. But, you know, training camps are tend to be pretty brutal. So that was something I was just leading up to the fight when I was talking with Marshall. He was saying, yo, like, he got this. You know, if Sean catches him, it might happen. And I was saying, like, he might got this, but sure. But I was telling him, you can ask him. I'm like, man, like, I'm very iffy on a very fast turnaround because those who train in combat sports, especially collegiately, y'all know that shit takes a toll on your body. You're sparring if you're sparring, not every day, but every freaking week, back to back, and you barely get time to really fully recover, that will affect you to an extent. But that's kind of like my explanation or whatever. I know people are going to be like, talking about whatever the fuck at the end of the live reaction. So that's going to be my thing on that. And that's me trying to be as objective and logical as possible. If we're talking about performance-wise, one, yeah, can't be ballooning up that high. Can't be ballooning up that high. That has to stop. That really has to stop. But I would also say that this is how I think it's going to go. Right? If they rematch each other, it's going to go one or two ways. For Sean O'Malley, keys to victory is, alright, I've already established the KO threat with my hands. Not only is the KO threat with your hands is there, but you also have shown to have some pretty quality kicks. Aljamain Sterling has shown some weaknesses with his exits. You've seen the film against Jan, against Cejudo, even against TJ Dillashaw in the first minute or two. TJ Dillashaw is trying to time a kick right as Aljamain Sterling is trying to dip out and exit to one side after he throws a specific punch or whatnot, right? So you can build off that threat, and it can look very similar to how the third fight between Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman was, right? He's going to work on a lot of low kicks, a lot of body teeps, feint with the hands, hide, disguise your kicks by then, and then let your hands go. Ooh, body rock. Uh-oh. Oh, come on. How did that fucking miss? Ay, ay. I should have not missed. Jeez. Uh-oh. Alright, I'm going to take down and finish that one. Man, I'm surprised I fucking missed. But I think if Aljamain comes out tentative, that's how it's going to go in Sean O'Malley's favor. Then he'll probably end up maybe not getting the finish early, but probably getting in rounds 3 or 4. Because if Aljamain's too tentative after getting KO'd, that's likely what's going to happen. Now for Aljamain Sterling, the shot for him to grapple, you know, Greco-Roman is very underrated, and Aljamain has shown some great throws, some great body locks, and everything else like that. You gotta smother Sean O'Malley. It's easier said than done. He moves very well. You use your kicks, throw your kicks, feint your kicks to get into range, and instead of shooting down to a leg where he can intercept you, do what the Greco guys do, right? Shoot, get low on the body, make sure that your knee splits the middle for Sean O'Malley, and then use that to maybe establish your unhook on one side, shuck him by, and work more of your offense by the cage that way. Early, when you're dry, before everything gets all sweaty and it becomes much more difficult to secure the takedown. Shooting right away, oof. If you do that and it's a very bad shot, like say like the shots that he shot against like Cejudo, or some of the shots that he shot against Jan in rounds 4 and 5, it's going to lead to him. There we go. It's going to lead to him getting, having a bad night. So, oh, sir. That was ballsy of you. Very ballsy of you. Unfortunately, it may lead to your demise. Yeah, that's pretty much all I really got to say about the whole thing. I'm just disappointed, but you have to admire something when it's done. When it's great execution, you have to admire it there. But I definitely would have loved to see a fight that's much more back and forth prior to anything like that happening. It's kind of like, you know how Corey Sandhagen got finished by Aljamain Sterling? And when he got finished by Aljamain Sterling at first, you're like, holy shit, that actually just happened. But then part of you goes, man, I kind of wish both of them were able to show their skill sets to each other a lot more. Oh, we're going to the... Let's see. Come on. Oh, okay. Man, no, your stamina low, dog. Go to the back, go to the back, go to the back. Oh, yes. We'll go for it. Why not? Yeah, I just wanted to see a little bit more. I wanted to see all of their skill sets shine. There was a lot of talk about O'Malley's jiu-jitsu. He is a brown belt, so that means his grappling is legit. And he showed a bit of that too with Peter Yan. Took down Peter Yan too, I believe, like once or twice. But anywho, it's just, yeah, this is a done deal. This is a done deal. I would have liked to see more. I think I would have liked to see more from Sean O'Malley and Aljamain Sterling in terms of the entire mixed martial arts skill set for both of them. And that's me just kind of seeing that as a fan. Regardless of like the winner, I think it would have been a fantastic fight if it had gone a little bit further. prior to any finish, whether it would have ended in a choke for Sterling or a finish for O'Malley again. But that's pretty much going to be it. Yeah, try to rewrite history with Sterling as much as we could. Got a couple of chokes in, some subs, and had ourselves a good time. So hopefully you guys appreciate the showcase. Best of luck to Mr. Funkmaster, whatever he decides next. And best of luck to Sean O'Malley if he's not opting to fight Aljamain Sterling, whoever his next opponent is. I hope he wins because I want to see them two fight again. I don't want him to get caught on some fluke shit. But Rare 17, hope you guys appreciate this showcase. Drop a comment in the video for everything that you like the most. If you have any questions, just let me know. Much love. And of course, if you guys like that reaction video that Marshall and I did, we'll definitely be doing more of that. So it was definitely a fun thing to do. But yeah, I'm going to be out of here. Much love. Appreciate y'all. More videos coming this week.